Welcome to Baptist Press This Week. I'm Laura Erlinson. The 2024 SBC Annual Meeting is just around the corner, and as messengers are getting ready to head to Indy, we're talking to the known SBC presidential candidates. In this episode of Baptist Press This Week, we talk with Tennessee Pastor Dan Spencer. Stay with us for that interview in just a moment. Pastor Spencer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
So I guess just to kind of kick us off, I would like to get to know a little more about you. Why don't you tell us your testimony?
I'd be glad to. I was raised in a Christian home, and not only that, but in a preacher's home. So I'm a PK, but even more than that, I'm an EK as well, an evangelist kid.
Okay.
And so my dad was in itinerant ministry for a long time. And so from the time I was a little boy, I've heard the gospel, heard the Bible taught in my home and in church. And it was not real to me until I was 16 years old. One night, in the middle of the night, under deep conviction about my sin, I went in my parents' bedroom and woke them up. And there at my parents' bedside with my father sharing the gospel with me, my mom praying, I heard it as if for the first time and responded in faith. It's the first time really that I knew what it meant to repent of my sin and place my faith in Jesus. And so I was saved then at 16 years of age. I was baptized in the baptistry on a Sunday afternoon of First Baptist Church of St. Cloud, Florida, where my dad had gone to help plant a church out of that church in Kissimmee, and we were borrowing their baptistry. And so I was baptized there. We moved back to my hometown, my home church in Brownsville, Tennessee. And the summer after my senior year in high school, I had my life planned out. I think I'd given the Lord everything I knew how to give him at that point, except for access to my future plans. And it was on a summer mission choir tour to Toronto, Canada, from my home church that the Lord called me to ministry. I told him yes before he could take it back. And he has moved me around a little. I've had the privilege of serving 4 churches, but the first real ministry position that I had, my wife and I were appointed together right out of college to be what used to be the home mission board called the US2 program. And so we gave 2 years after college to serve, and they appointed us to the evangelism department of the Missouri Baptist Convention. And it was 2 of the most fun years of our ministry. We enjoyed traveling the state, telling people, leading worship, telling people how to share their faith. And so God really used that to shape us. And since then, I've had the privilege of just really serving great churches since 1992. I served at First Baptist, or rather Tower Grove Baptist Church in St. Louis, and I was minister of music and youth. Back in the day, that was a really popular combo.
Yep.
And really enjoyed that. Then I was able to serve under my dad when he was pastoring in Dothan, Alabama at Ridgecrest Baptist Church. God was just doing a great work there. And having not had him around a whole lot in my childhood, it was great to be able to make up time and serve under him. I learned much more under his leadership than I think I ever have in any class that I've ever taken. So then since 2000, I've been a senior pastor, first at First Baptist Church in Thomasville, Georgia, for 11 years. And then for the past 12 years here at First Baptist Church of Sevierville. This is not only a great place to live, we're millions of people come to visit every year
Yeah, for sure. It's
uh,
beautiful.
in the Great Smoky Mountains. But
Hmm.
also it's just a wonderful church, and it's my joy to serve them.
Well, that sounds maybe similar to a lot of Southern Baptist pastors, I would say, who kind of came up through the ranks and served at churches and even served with the then Home Mission Board. And
Yeah,
so, talk about the cooperative program and the mission of Southern Baptists and their cooperation together for the gospel. Talk about that and how that has played a role in your life.
sure. Well, it started when I was young, um, because uh, I'm a relative of M.E. Dodd, who was the chair of the Future
Right.
Committee in
Yes, we had that in
1925.
the story of the nomination story about you. That's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to hear my mom tell stories about spending time in the Dodds home in Shreveport, and how he would take them out for ice cream all the time. And
So for those that don't know, why don't who tell who Emmy Dot is for those that may not know who that is.
yeah, M.E. Dodd, he would be my great great uncle, but he was the chairman of the Future Committee that brought the
Hmm.
recommendation for the cooperative program to the SBC in Memphis in 1925. So uh, next summer in Dallas, we'll have the centennial celebration of the cooperative program and all that the Lord has done. And so I began hearing those stories and hearing about that when I was a little boy from my mother. But the cooperative program is the mechanism for our cooperation together. It's how we cooperatively do so much more than we could ever do as individual churches. The first time I ever had a steady income was when I was a US2 missionary along with my wife, and it was sort of surreal being able to take that income, tithe it to a church that was letting us live in their parsonage that would send money on to the cooperative program, and then they would send me out to talk about it, promote the cooperative program. That's what our state conventions do so well. And so I was able to be on the receiving end of churches that gave, Southern Baptists that gave sacrificially, and then also to promote it at the same time. This it's a joy to serve churches that have really had a heart for that.
Yeah. So how about your church now? How do you promote CP at First Baptist Sevierville?
Yeah, we try to do that in an ongoing way. I'll give you a recent example. 2 weeks ago on a Sunday morning, our kids pastor, Keith Allman, was doing the offering appeal as staff members at churches are assigned to do.
Hmm.
And I did not know he was going to say this, but he said, as you give, just know that not only does it support ministries and ministers here in Sevier County, Tennessee, but also it goes on outside of our community to do work all over the nation and all over the world through the cooperative program. And he shared with everyone, here at our church, about 9 cents out of every dollar that you give is going to be sent on to be pooled with the resources of thousands of other churches who are like-minded and have the same kind of heart that we do for reaching people. And it's going to end up doing all kinds of work all around the world. And so when you give, just know that you're making a difference in the lives of places whose names you can't even pronounce,
Mm.
and people that you will never meet this side of heaven whose lives will be changed. And so I think keeping that before people just that fires our church up to
Yeah.
want to give and to want to be involved in that way.
Yeah. So let's shift gears just a little bit.
Mhm.
In your role as SBC president, should you be elected, what do you plan for that? What are the primary responsibilities of an SBC president?
Yeah, well, as I understand it, besides presiding over the annual meeting and doing that in an even-handed way, and appointing tellers registration committee and parliamentarian and things like that. The SBC president doesn't have any authority over local churches. We all cooperate voluntarily. No authority over SBC entities or SBC committees other than having a presence and proximity to the issues as they're being discussed, and of course being able to speak at the annual meeting. But other than that, the SBC president has an ex officio seat on the executive committee and the boards of the convention. But really, maybe the best influence is in the present to be able to appoint the resolutions committee, and then for the future to be able to appoint the committee on committees, and between annual meetings to at times, I guess, be called upon to represent the SBC with what he might say. But I think even more powerfully than words is the responsibility the president of the Southern Baptist Convention has to embody the mission and the vision and the values of the convention in the way he lives his life and pastors his church.
So you mentioned that committee on committees. What's your philosophy with appointing those people? Do you have any certain criteria that potential members would need to meet, or vision that they would have to adopt, or anything like that?
Laura, I think I would want to seek input from grassroots Southern Baptist associational leaders, state convention staff, and find those people who have demonstrated commitment to Southern Baptist causes, to Great Commission work, who are involved in cooperative program giving, and then Southern Baptists who understand our polity and who are committed to our cooperative mission.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are the most pressing issues facing the SBC right now that you may have to deal with as president?
I'll answer that question like this. I think in some ways, whether it's the role of women in ministry, sex abuse prevention and reform, transparency and things like that. I think maybe we're a little bit like Martha in Luke chapter 10, when Jesus said to her, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things. And for her, it wasn't bad things. They were good things, needful things. She was cooking supper for the King of Kings who were sitting in her living room. But he said, you're worried and troubled about many things. And then he said, but one thing is necessary. For Southern Baptists right now, I believe that one thing that is necessary is a recommitment to the mission that the Lord Jesus has given us. He dictates the mission. It's our responsibility to get on board, to cooperate the very best we can, to make the biggest impact we can in the time that we have left. And as Southern Baptists, we've always had our differences on particular issues, but we've always found a way to come together and to deal with issues as they arise, and then cooperate together. We've demonstrated throughout the history of our convention how focused we can be, and how that cooperative focus, what M.E. Dodd called a unity of purpose, can accomplish as we work together. And so that didn't answer your question. So
what would you say toward that end? How would you try to maybe bridge the gaps that do exist among people on different sides of these issues?
Sure. I think one thing that I would enjoy the opportunity to do is to next summer in Dallas lead Southern Baptist in a celebration. It's worthy of celebration, all that God's done through our cooperative efforts as we celebrate the 100th year of the Cooperative Program, and to help us to refocus on the main thing, and then to join hands with others like Dr. Jeff Lorch,
Mm-hmm.
brilliant choice for the head of our executive committee, and support him and work with those who are tackling the different problems that we have going on, and try to build consensus so that we can cooperate to the max.
Mm-hmm. What's your philosophy on running an annual meeting? What would be your vision for that meeting in Dallas, in addition to what you just said?
Yeah, certainly fairness, being even-handed in how that goes, and trying to share all the victories that we can for what the Lord's done in the past, and build on the best of our past, and meet the needs here in the present, and look forward to our bright future together. I would love to call Southern Baptist to be what we say we are, and to be the best of who we say we are. But other than that, with the business, I don't know of anybody who would look forward to all the possibilities that can come from the floor as Southern Baptists do business together. But I have had a little experience with that. When I was in Georgia, I got to be the president of the Georgia Baptist Convention for 2 years, in 2010 and 2011. And in fact, got to work with Barry McCarty as the parliamentarian of those two annual meetings. And we did have some issues come up that we navigated through. And I think that's one of the things Southern Baptists just tend to do well, is when we get together, we figure it out, and we make the tough calls that we need to make, and we take the votes that need to be taken, and then we refocus on the mission the Lord has given us.
Okay. I would like to get your thoughts. You mentioned it a little earlier about the ongoing discussion in the SBC about the role of women in ministry. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share about the amendment that it's going to be before messengers in Indianapolis, or anything else you want to say about that issue?
Sure. I have no issue with the theology of the law amendment. It's really, I think, a governance issue, and I think the Baptist Faith and Message 2000 has sufficiently spoken to that clearly. In Anaheim a couple of years ago, we were able to deal with one of the largest churches in America, one of the most famous pastors in America, and by, I think, 92% when the vote was taken, to deal with the issue with what we already have in place in the Baptist Faith and Message. So I feel confident Southern Baptists as a whole understand the role of a senior pastor, and so I might question the necessity of the amendment, but it wouldn't break my heart if it passed. And my hope is that in Indianapolis, we'll be thoughtful about it, and not reactive in the way that we vote when that is brought up at this convention.
Well, as we kind of move to a close here, this has been really helpful. Any causes or initiatives that you would like to see if should you be elected SBC president? Any particular things you would want to focus on or pursue?
Well, not me, but like I said in Dallas, it's a great opportunity. Not only the centennial year of the Cooperative Program, but also the Baptist Faith and Message, and so to just lead the convention to celebrate appropriately all that the Lord has done through the last 100 years in our unified efforts. There's so much more to do. We have so many other issues that we need to tackle together in order to be most unified. I'd love to see all of our churches increase their cooperative program giving for the occasion when we meet together in Dallas in 2025. And then, as I said, joining with our new executive committee president, Dr. Orge, in building for the future and pressing on toward what the Lord has ahead for us. And I was thinking, Laura, I'm the 35th pastor of the church that I pastor, and there will likely be a 36th. I like to remind people that the church that I pastor was planted in a presidential election year, like 2024 is in America, and they never guess who was elected that year. It was George Washington. This church has been around for a long, long time, and it's still here, and it's still active and vibrant and pursuing the mission that the Lord gave us because of the fact that so many throughout the years have made sure that this church has their focus on the Great Commission. And I believe that's why we're still around. And so I try to do that here. I think we have to do the same thing as Southern Baptists, like those who've gone before us, to make sure that we are focused together on the right things so that we can continue to make a difference until Jesus comes.
Well, before we wrap it up, is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about? Anything you want to add?
I don't think so, Laura, but thank you so much. I'm honored to have been given a little time to talk about that today.
Thanks for joining us on Baptist Press this week. We hope that you will follow us at baptistpress.com, where we cover all things Southern Baptist, and read there how you can sign up for our morning and afternoon emails and stay informed about the annual meeting and a lot more. Once again, join us at baptistpress.com.